views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. Today is November the 16th, 2017. It is a Thursday. I'm so glad to have you in on today's show. And if you'd like to get in on today's show, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. I'm going to be traveling as well today, but we're going to, very, very important stuff that's going on. We need to talk about it, and I want to share some things with you all to make the proper preparations for what's really going on. So with that being said, let's take care of some of the administrative obligations that we have and that are so important. Everyone, please continue to support Black Talk Radio Network. You could easily do that by going to www.blacktalkradionetwork.com, www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. And once you are there, you will see the donation prompt that is provided for you. You can very easily hit that and give some of your financial energy to ensure that this network is on air tomorrow, next year, and the decades and the centuries ahead by giving some of your financial energy, because this network is a grassroots organization that was put together for your interest, so that you will be able to facilitate the necessities and the necessities of today and seize the opportunities of tomorrow. So please give whatever that you can. Also, if you would, you can support the network as well by being a member in BTR Community. BTR Community is a social media outlet where you can engage in all of your social media activities without being as adversely affected by way of data mining, by way of your identity being sold to bidders, and by way of the adverse sides is that many people will be able to see what you're doing and use that against you in so many different ways. So don't want that to happen. So come on over to BTR Community, and you can post and do all of your regular social media activities. You can post stuff about yourself, your business, events that are coming up, or things that you think need to have more public exposure, or you want to expose to the overall BTR community. It is where you can do it for only $24 a year. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, while we on that, I'm gonna work on that registration page to make it simpler. But I heard from a listener, a Black Talk Radio Network, and a big fan of Tando Radio Show, and she called me because she was having some problems signing up. So I just want to tell people, you do not have to have a PayPal account to sign up, because I pay extra fees a month in order for people who don't want a PayPal account to be able to use any kind of credit or debit card. And you also have the option of sending a check or money order made out to Black Talk Media Project, P.O. Box 65, Mount Holly, North Carolina. But I'm going to redo that page and just make it easier for people to sign up, because she's like in her 70s. You know, and so she
bless her heart.
She had a little trouble, but she was telling me, man, how she loved the show, and you know, she said she loved Sister Davis and Brother Davis on Wise Wednesdays, and she's trying to tell her sons, you know, they need to check out Black Talk Radio. So that was a delightful call, and I hope that she's able to become part of the community soon.
Yes, definitely. So, man, that, you know, for us, that really means everything to us when we hear from the listeners. Means absolutely everything to us, because that is why we do what we do, and we greatly, greatly appreciate, and we look forward to building even further. So, my regards to the sister that, and the queen, the matriarch that listens to Tando and Black Talk Radio Network. We are so happy that you are here and looking forward to engaging with you further into the future. So definitely, man, that just, you know, that warms the heart. That warms the heart. Love it, love it, love it. So please, everyone, continue to support. These are the reasons why. It's because of each of us, and that is so, so important. So greatly appreciate all of you that have given. All donations are greatly, greatly appreciated. Also, if you would like to acquire real money, you can go to actually ProsperityMint.com. ProsperityMint.com is a full-service precious metals dealership. Make sure, check out what's in inventory, but make sure you email before you purchase. And there's a reason why I say that, and it's to your benefit. Do not skip that process, please. Email info@ProsperityMint.com and just say that you are you would like to purchase, and you're interested in purchasing, and someone will get in contact with you and explain the very important purchasing process. And it's not going to take long, but it's something that needs to be conveyed to you that's in your best interest. Okay? So please, definitely do that. Okay? Also, we have a platform where you can acquire cryptocurrencies, and you can definitely, we're going to have a new members call. I will give the time tomorrow. We're probably going to do it right around 7:15, right after 7:30, after Tando Radio Show, where we are for new members of Coins of Change. And I'm going to tell you this Coins of Change. I've been really, really busy with this thing. Almost finished up with some very critical portions of it. So just want to thank you for bearing with me with that. Coins of Change is where cryptocurrency and crowdfunding meet, and it is a phenomenal platform, and I want as many of you to get into it for only $50, one-time fee, no membership, no that's it, no hidden fees, but there is a fee that you have to pay for, and it's not going to Coins of Change. There's a processing fee when you're sending, because you have to get $50 worth of Bitcoin and send it to Coins of Change. There's a process fee, not that goes to Coins of Change, but it goes into the overall transferring of cryptocurrency from one account to another account. The actual blockchain charges a fee, and that is customary. And for those of you that don't know that, when you get into cryptos, you'll see is known as the gas fee. You have to attach the gas fee. Bitcoin now is just short of $8,000. It's made its little recovery from, and I thought it was going to go down even further, but it didn't. And this thing is only going to continue to explode and blow up. So definitely want you to engage in that. Listen to our members call tomorrow, and that is going to be Friday, right after Tando Radio Show. I will give you the number to call, and I'm gonna give you a heads up now. The number, give you that now. Let me just really quickly, 1 second. Let me give you that number, and it's going to be 1 second. I got to pull up area code 712. Let me see. 1 second. 712-775-7035. 712-775-7035 is the number, and the access code is going to be 968955. Once again, for new members, I will give a presentation to you all about coins of change, why this is so important. It's going to be the place that everybody is going to want to go in to get Bitcoins. For $50 worth of Bitcoin, you can transfer that into full Bitcoins and multiple full Bitcoins. I think it's 179 is the max that you will be able to receive. 179 Bitcoins. That's over that's right at $1.1 million in cash, in today's cash. But Bitcoins, that was at Bitcoin at being at $3,000. Bitcoin is not at $3,000. It's at $8,000. It's doubled that in a quarter. So very, very important. You want to be on that call tomorrow. Once again, area code 712-775-7035. And the access code is going to be 968955. And I'm going to just say this before we move forward. You want to get in now before the rest of the world gets in, because how the system is going to be setting up is that the people that come in after that, once it opens up to the rest of the world, those of you that get in now from referral links of people, from people now, because that's the only way that you can get in now. You can't just go to Coins of Change and just join. But the rest of the world will be able to do that. And Coins of Change is not going to keep any of those people. They're going to fill them into the people that already are in Coins of Change. That would be you. So powerful. It's going to be a global business. So you want to be on that call tomorrow after Tando Radio Show. Okay, so what else we got here? Okay, so we're going to get into what's in the news. What we're going to do is we're going to have the show that we were going to have on Tuesday. Very, very important. And today's show is going to be a glimpse of what could spark GNW1, Global Nuclear War 1. And what I wanted to do, we put in want to play a YouTube video for you about a documentary about how some of the nuclear technology was well, this is what was said, but it has a lot to do with what's going on in the world as things start to destabilize itself. So we'll play that. So I want to go over a couple of things of what's in the news. Scotty and I were talking about the current coup that's going on in Zimbabwe. And I'm going to tell you there's going to be a lot of coups that start jumping up all over the place. And especially as we move closer to the overall war paradigm.
Hey, Dave.
I want you to be prepared. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
I wouldn't use the word coup. That's what everybody else is using. Because I haven't seen a coup where they are concerned about not embarrassing the leader that they taking out of power, or allowing him to speak to other people, other heads of nations, to make sure that his physical well-being is okay. I'm looking at this as more as a intervention, because these people are comrades of his. This man is 94.
Right, they are.
Yeah, he's 94 years old, and they didn't like the direction that the country was headed in. With it appearing to be that his wife was clearing out his comrades in order to set her up for power. So I would call it an intervention among friends, because most coups I've seen, they usually mutilate and murder the person, that they're getting rid of. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And I would go with that, and I hope it stays that way. Yeah, I would go with that as well, Scotty. And it's very significant because Mugabe, he's 94. He's 94, and what we're going to see, because there's a lot of now. Hopefully that this will go over as a smooth transaction, because this is going to be, once again, the continent of Africa is critical going forward in the asset-based economy. It's going to be critical going forward. So I hope that this will be a stable transaction, because that's what it really needs, because the rest of the world is going to already in itself be completely unstable. And that's what I hope will not befall Zimbabwe, because it's really not needed. And, Venezuela has defaulted on loans, is allotted, on obligations, which we knew it was coming, but all this is going to continue to really stir up the destabilization throughout the world. So definitely I agree with you, Scotty, on that. First, next article, L.A. Ramon posted one. Egypt tries to avoid a fight as allies escalate against Iran. And I don't think there's no turning back now. That is definitely going to happen. And that is going to directly affect everyone here. And then there was a couple of articles from Tuesday that I thought were very, very important. I posted this one from Sputnik News. Russian Prime Minister, new sanctions against Moscow will derail ties for decades. Talking about with the U.S. Everyone is positioning themselves for the U.S. not to be able to have that type of influence in the world, and that is already starting to happen. Next article I got from Bloomberg. Turkey gold buying spree has market wondering how much and why. I'll tell you why, because they know what's coming. It's an asset-based economy, and that asset-based economy is going to go through the overall the default of the debt, and there's so much debt that is going to bring multiple meaningful, deep wars. So that's why. And how much? They're going to buy as much as they possibly can. So check out that, in which you should all be doing as well, securing assets. So that was because of today's show and what's involved. I want to jump into it, but let me see. My man Raz posted a good one. And this was from Tuesday. Oil could top $200 if Saudi-Iranian war breaks out. If Saudi and Iran war breaks out, yes, $200 is small. It could be far, far. This is why you have to get in great opportunities that can subsidize your overall standard of living and your quality of life. So important. You got to have assets, and you got to be able to stay ahead of inflation. So great article there that Roz posted from the other day. Okay, so what I want to do, Scotty, if you would play that first video that we have there. And I wanted you all to just to get an idea of how big this conflict, nuclear conflict, because I believe it will be, but it'll be tactical nukes. They're not going to destroy. They're going to be tactical nukes that they're not looking to, destroy everything, but they want to destroy a significant amount of people. Rise had posted something I saw earlier about how the celebrity figurehead, future king of England, what's the kid's name? William had, and it was about depopulation. How it was something where he supported depopulation on the continent. Yes, they actually support that globally, and that's what the setup is here. And they're telling you all of this beforehand. And I believe that war is the most effective, efficient. War and disease and poverty is the most effective. It's the werewolf. It's a great werewolf.
Henry Kissinger been saying
and how do you kill a werewolf? A silver bullet. They tell you everything. So, Scotty, if you could play that YouTube video that I posted today, is the only one that's there. I want you to get you a little familiar with some of the things that was happening and how this whole thing is going to divulge, because this is plausible deniability that they're releasing these types of things so that they could tell you what you should be doing and how things came about. So check out this video, very, very, very important one. And then when we come back, we'll have the rest of the show. So, Scotty, if you would.
Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan, brilliant scientist, trusted colleague, nuclear spy.
There's no doubt that A.Q. Khan has made the world a much more dangerous place. He's made it much more likely that a terrorist group could one day get their hands on the nuclear bomb.
Khan's master plan: to steal Europe's nuclear secrets. Build an atomic bomb for Pakistan.
This is it.
And set up a smuggling network to sell those secrets on to Middle Eastern states, from Libya to Iran.
It's very dangerous if Iran gets the bomb. And let me just add, if there had been no A.Q. Khan, we would not have a crisis now.
The cost would be in the region of $100 million US. Of course, we would pay.
This was one-stop shopping. This was everything from enrichment of uranium to the actual warhead design.
A nuclear network reaching as far as North Korea.
I will not stand by as peril draws closer and closer. The United States of America will not permit the world's most dangerous regimes to threaten us with the world's most destructive weapons.
But the West did too little, too late.
It could have been stopped, without any doubt in my mind. I think it's one of the biggest failures in history. So we're all going to pay the price.
The mastermind behind the biggest global nuclear smuggling ring, A.Q. Khan, is accused of being the most dangerous man in the world. Khan is not permitted to tell his own story, and in this film he is played by an actor. "35 years ago, Pakistani scientist Abdul Khan set out on a path to power and notoriety. He got a job at Europe's largest civilian atomic research consortium, Urenco. He was soon well liked by his colleagues.
A.Q. Khan was obviously a very bright metallurgist. He was more than that. He was someone who was easy to get on with, and he was someone who we believed you could rely upon.
Urenco's thousands of gas centrifuges provide the uranium fuel for Europe's nuclear power stations. Centrifuges can also enrich uranium for use in an atomic bomb. Known to the Pakistani Secret Service as Agent Karim, Khan was on a spying mission. He was forbidden access to all classified material, but security was lax.
Good evening, Dr. Khan. Working late?
No, I'm just writing to my family in Pakistan. You see, they're always complaining they never see or hear from me.
Okay. I'll see you on the way out.
Yes.
Still unsuspected, Khan flew to Pakistan at Christmas 1975. He took with him his Dutch wife and their 2 young children. He wrote to his employers saying he had contracted yellow fever, and then he never came back. And it would take the Dutch years to discover what Khan had stolen and why. young nation of Pakistan had recently suffered a crushing defeat by India. Khan's own family were Muslim refugees from India, and he looked to the Islamic Republic as a safe haven. Khan vowed his country would never be humiliated again.
A.Q. Khan was motivated by a fierce patriotism, fierce nationalism, a desire to defend his home country of Pakistan. And he saw delivering Pakistan the atomic bomb as a means to delivering Pakistan's security. That was his original motivation, protecting his own country.
Pakistan's leader, President Bhutto, swore the nation must have the bomb, even if it meant the people had to eat grass to pay for it. It was a terrifying prospect. An atomic arms race in one of the world's most volatile regions. The next war between India and Pakistan could lead to a nuclear holocaust with global fallout. Instructions to find a location for a top-secret research facility. The code name was Project 706. Khan chose Kahuta in the foothills of the Himalayas.
This is it. This is where we will build the plant.
His task, to deliver Pakistan's nuclear bomb, the first in the Islamic world. Khan has since told his biographer how he built the Kahuta plant from scratch, relying on foreign suppliers.
I took full advantage of the willingness of Western companies to do business and decided to buy from the open market.
And there were plenty of takers, nuclear profiteers, happy to exploit the lax export regulations in exchange for a fat profit.
Perfect times. They begged us to purchase their goods. And for the first time, the truth of the saying, they would sell their mothers for money, dawned on me. We purchased whatever we required. When are you coming to Pakistan?
His next step, to create fuel for a bomb. Khan needed to smuggle centrifuge parts out from the West. Khan's agents made contact with German businessman Gotthard Lerck. In this film, all dramatizations of members of the Khan network are based on intelligence reports and legal documents.
These are the details of what we require.
There should not be a problem. We supply this technology to many customers.
And delivery? Will you have any problem with exporting these goods?
No. This will not be an issue. We require no special permission from our government.
Much nuclear technology is dual use, usable for peaceful purposes or for the bomb. A loophole Khan often exploited. Such deals were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to Lerck's company. And with contacts all over Europe, Khan's bomb project rapidly accelerated.
They were operating throughout Western Europe, to some degree in the Middle East. They had people all over the place. It involved a number of businessmen, friends of A.Q. Khan's from his days in Holland and Germany, and many, many others. They would purchase things using false end users, multiple transshipment points to disguise the fact of the ultimate destination being Pakistan. It was a very sophisticated operation.
In the 1980s, the Dutch Secret Service launched an inquiry into Khan. His former colleagues at Urenco realized the enormity of his betrayal.
He took the drawings of at least 2 designs of centrifuge from the Netherlands. He took them together with the lists of European suppliers who he knew then he could go back to and very quickly get the necessary raw materials, components and equipment.
In 1983, the Dutch charged Khan with nuclear espionage. Khan protested his innocence to the press.
It was the most concerted and vicious campaign ever launched against anybody since the Second World War. I was presented as a fanatic Muslim devil, a James Bond or a Dr. No or whatnot. The Dutch initiated a false and concocted case against me without my knowledge.
The Dutch sentenced Khan to 4 years in jail. But in a curious turn of events, the legal papers were never served correctly, and Khan was acquitted on a technicality. He continued to defy the West.
Whatever we achieved at Kahuta is purely due to our own hard work, 100% Pakistani effort, and no foreigner has helped us in any capacity.
By 1985, Western intelligence already knew what Kahuta really was. A CIA report from that year has been recently declassified. Pakistan has had personnel and facilities dedicated to the pursuit of a nuclear weapons capability since 1971. These resources are involved in the design, fabrication, and testing of high explosives and nuclear weapons parts. The West pressured Pakistan to cease their nuclear program. Khan retaliated with a blunt letter to the German press.
I would like question this bloody holier-than-thou attitude of the Americans and the British. These bastards are the God-appointed guardians of the world to stockpile hundreds of thousands of nuclear warheads and have the God-given authority to carry out explosions every month. And if we start a modest program, we are the Satans, the devils.
Khan had thwarted European justice, but Western intelligence continued to follow him on his travels. One of his frequent destinations was particularly alarming. China.
Assalamu alaikum. Neha, very good to see you.
What business did Agent Karim have with the communist superpower with the world's third largest nuclear arsenal? Conventional surveillance methods on Khan failed to provide enough details of his dealings with China. So the CIA mounted a bold operation, which they still refuse to discuss in detail.
All I can say is that the Chinese provided invaluable assistance to Pakistan's nuclear efforts. Okay? And I'd say the rest of it I can't go into because, you know, it's quite classified.
They shadowed Khan on one of his frequent foreign trips and picked their moment.
I had asked someone to book me a plane ticket to Islamabad. Could you please find out if it has been done?
The contents of Khan's briefcase confirmed that Khan had obtained the Chinese design for a nuclear warhead.
May I need your passport number, please?
Yes.
The CIA now knew the full significance of Khan's trips to China.
Excuse me. Thank you.
The nuclear weapons design which the Chinese provided Khan was vital because it was a tested design. It was a design that the Chinese had already found to be working and usable. And it was also a design for a bomb that could be fitted onto a missile and therefore could be delivered anywhere. Khan was also working on missiles, as well as nuclear fuel, and now weapons design. So if you put that together, Khan really had everything you needed for a deliverable nuclear bomb.
It was a major breakthrough for intelligence, but stopping Khan was now no longer a priority. Afghanistan. Throughout the 1980s, a bloody battleground for invading Soviet troops and the fundamentalist Islamic resistance. American policy: defeat the Russians at all costs and bring down the evil empire. And they needed a regional ally.
It's clear that during the 1980s, the U.S. was receiving some very troublesome information about Pakistan's nuclear weapons program. At the same time, of course, the U.S. was depending on Pakistan as a conduit of assistance to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, in the hope of evicting the Soviet Union from Afghanistan. So even though the U.S. was aware of a number of these activities, it was very reluctant to come down very hard on Pakistan.
Khan took full advantage of Pakistan's change in status. By the mid-80s, such was his confidence that his network even started to operate in the United States. Khan was after hardware to update his uranium centrifuges, but it was a step too far.
We felt something had to be done, and so we took certain steps. What we were dealing with at this point was violations of U.S. criminal law, as opposed to the Khan network's activities overseas.
Barlow oversaw a sting operation on a Pakistani-born businessman, Archie Pervez. Pervez was suspected of being a frontman for the Khan network, and he was after some very sensitive technology.
I learned that Archie Pervez was attempting to purchase 25 metric tons of something called 350 grade Malaysian steel. Malaysian steel is an export-controlled, ultra-strong steel, which has very, very limited uses. The reason it's controlled, primarily, is that it's used to make rotors for gas centrifuges to enrich uranium.
The team needed to know who Pervez was buying for and where the steel was being smuggled to.
One container will pick up on the 15th. I want you to inspect both shipments, though. Sure, I will. I'll pick up the other a week later. The reason I'm picking up 2 shipments, we want to recycle the money.
Recycle the money? Okay.
Okay? I want to protect my clientele.
Finally, Pervez let slip what they needed to know.
Good. The Cahuta plant is ready.
It's going to the Cahuta plant. Okay. Cahuta, is that the correct pronunciation? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Pervez had no idea it was a sting.
Mr. Pervez, you're under arrest. U.S. Customs. Please turn around. You have the right to remain silent.
Archie Pervez was convicted for the attempted export of the material for the Pakistani bomb program. But the reaction of Barlow's political masters would come as a complete shock.
The arrest caused a massive firestorm in Washington here. You know, the Congress was up in arms because they just approved $4.2 billion of aid to Pakistan, and suddenly this happens. And so, you know, there were demands for a hearing, and I was sent down by the CIA to testify in a closed session hearing. The congressmen were very angry over this.
Barlow's operation had come at the wrong time for Washington. Maintaining the alliance with Pakistan in the Afghan war against the Russians was more important than disrupting the Khan smuggling ring.
My agency career was basically ruined. I became a traitor in the view of some people who were running the Afghan war. It's been the most damaging experience I've ever had in my life. You know, it's affected my personal life, my career, you know. It's had a profound effect. It's really intolerable.
In 1987, the very year the CIA was warned off from pursuing Khan, he expanded his operations into the Middle East. His headquarters were in Dubai, and the nature of his business was changing. The network was employing frontmen like BSA Tahir.
Yes.
A young, ambitious Sri Lankan, he ran a respected computer business, the SMB Group.
We can guarantee on-time delivery and offer a full technical support. We would prefer a cash payment up front, but you can pay by check. SMB Computers. The cost. The cost would be in the region of, say, $75,000 US. Not a problem. Good to do business with you.
Assalamu alaikum, beta. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Very well. Welcome to Dubai.
Thank you, thank you.
Tahir, often described as Khan's surrogate son, would rise from a lowly position in the procurement network to become the key figure after Khan himself.
Are you ready to eat? Okay. Good.
From Dubai, Khan plotted his next move. Dealing directly with Middle Eastern regimes hostile to the West and in the market for nuclear weapons.
Assalamu alaikum, Heinz. Assalamu alaikum.
Please sit down. Said Beta, I would like you to meet a friend of mine, Mr. Heinz Mabus.
German businessman Heinz Mabus had already sold technology to the Iraq nuclear bomb program.
Now, I thought it's very important that the two of you should meet, because Heinz understands, well, perhaps more than anyone, the nature of our business.
The West completely missed that in Dubai, Khan and his associates were not just buying, they were selling. It was a catastrophic failure of intelligence.
In the 1980s, the US, the UK and other countries were watching the Khan network in terms of building Pakistan's own bomb. In the 1990s, Western intelligence agencies lost track of Khan. They really didn't appreciate what he was doing. They didn't understand that he'd made a shift from building Pakistan's own bomb to being a salesman.
It would be years before the West obtained the first evidence that Khan was selling. They had to wait until after the first Gulf War, when UN weapons inspectors went into Iraq to check on Saddam's weapons of mass destruction, including his atom bomb project. At a chicken farm in the Iraqi desert, they uncovered a treasure trove of documents. Now at the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna, where Khan's former colleague at Urenco, Trevor Edwards, works as a weapons inspector. Still classified, the chicken farm documents include the AB, or atom bomb memo. The memo reveals that in 1990, the Iraqi Secret Service had received an offer from Khan's network. Dr. Abdel Qadir Khan is prepared to give us project designs for a nuclear bomb, materials from Western European countries via a company he owns in Dubai. Ironically, Saddam turned them down because he thought it was a CIA setup. Yet Saddam's regime would eventually be destroyed by the Americans and British, claiming he had weapons of mass destruction. Inexplicably, the West did nothing to stop the very man who had tried to sell Saddam nuclear secrets. And so during the 1990s, Khan and his network were allowed to become very rich on the proceeds of successful sales to other clients the West knew nothing about. Khan became a multi-millionaire with a large property portfolio, a collection of vintage cars, and a taste for tailor-made suits.
Here, I'll take 2 shirts of the same size, please. Thank you.
I think Khan was motivated by a mixture of greed and idealism. Greed was definitely there. He amassed a large amount of money. But he also did have wider ideological motivations. Motivations partly centred around resentment of the West, partly centred around a desire to spread the bomb to as many countries as possible, because he believed it was the right of countries to have a nuclear bomb for their own security if they wanted it.
May 1998. Pakistan exploded its first bomb in response to Indian nuclear tests the same month. The threat of atomic warfare on the subcontinent between the two enemies was now ever present. But overnight, Khan became a hero in Pakistan and much of the Muslim world.
I remember how President Musharraf praised me to the Pakistani people. Allah Almighty has heard our nation's prayers. You are a national hero. Your place in history is assured.
I think the ultimate event was the test in 1998. It was a clear-cut signal to their Islamic brothers that it could be done, and it's been stated by A.Q. Khan and other leaders in Pakistan from the beginning that this was not just the Pakistani bomb, that this was the Islamic bomb. And, you know, I think that that's something of grave concern.
A.Q. Khan was instrumental in Pakistan getting the bomb, which has heightened the chance of nuclear war in South Asia. Also, you have to worry that a future government may become fundamentalist and then may use its nuclear arsenal to confront the West and become much more provocative and aggressive. So you have to worry a great deal about the nuclear assets in Pakistan.
The research laboratories at Kahuta now began brazenly advertising nuclear technology at international arms fairs. But who was Khan selling to?
There were a number of warning signs that Khan might have been up to something more dangerous. There were signs from Khan's unusual travel. He was travelling to a lot of countries around the world where it wasn't clear exactly what he was doing.
One of these countries was the brutal communist dictatorship of North Korea, which was actively seeking nuclear weapons. The Koreans provided Pakistan with missiles for their atomic arsenal. In return, Western diplomats suspected Khan provided them with centrifuges, which Pakistan denied. As concerns grew in the late 1990s, intelligence on Khan was made top priority.
A joint task force was set up between MI6 and the CIA. It was agreed between the two sides that they'd share everything, but that it would be a very small team and that no one outside the teams would be told about what they were doing.
The task force concentrated on Khan's activities in Dubai and the Middle East, and made a shocking discovery.
For a valued customer as yourself, I think it is important that we should meet in person. And of course,
Khan's network was dealing with one of the West's sworn enemies, Colonel Gaddafi. Libya had orchestrated terrorist attacks against the West, including the Lockerbie atrocity, which cost 270 lives. The intelligence team knew Libya wanted to buy nuclear weapons materials and suspected Khan was prepared to sell them. The question was, what to do about it?
We had to make a decision. Do we stop this activity or do we watch it longer in the hope of understanding it better so that when we moved against it, we could take it out by the roots? And it was clearly the preference in Washington to watch it, track it better, and when we understand it better and feel we can eradicate it more completely, to take action only then.
But the pursuit of Khan was suddenly thrown off course. "9/11 strengthened Khan's position, just as the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan had done 20 years earlier.
September the 11th attacks hugely complicated and slowed down efforts to stop A.Q. Khan. That's because all of a sudden Pakistan was a very important ally for the United States. The US needed Pakistan's help in going after Al-Qaeda and going after Osama bin Laden. And that was a problem in dealing with A.Q. Khan, because to deal with Khan you needed to put pressure on Pakistan, and doing that was very difficult because of Khan's status as a national hero.
The Americans pressured Pakistan to rein in Khan. President Musharraf called him in person.
Arey, salam alaikum, Musharraf Saab. This is indeed an honor. Nothing, President Saab. This is a routine trip. I do it so often, and you know that there is no problem. There's nothing to be worried about. President Saab, why are you bothering yourself with the details? You know that when I am there, everything will be okay, inshallah.
Despite the warning, Khan continued to sell Pakistan's atom bomb technology. But his cover was about to be blown. Iran, the hardline Islamic Republic, and another Middle Eastern state with nuclear ambitions. In 2002, an Iranian exile group revealed to the world the existence of an unknown uranium enrichment facility. Six months later, after intense diplomatic negotiation, UN inspectors gained access to Iran. We've reconstructed their investigation. They headed straight for Natanz.
They offered us a helicopter ride from Tehran to Natanz, but we decided that let's take a car. We drove that 250, 300 kilometer stretch from Tehran to Natanz. And with a high speed, it was all the time 170 kilometers per hour when we are pushing, because most of the time it's actually almost like a desert.
When you get there, you realize that the whole complex is very secretive. The major plant will be underground once it's built. It's not yet built, but once it is built, it'll be underground. And above ground, there is a pilot plant under construction.
The inspectors were taken to a conference room and presented with details of the enrichment program. The Iranians claimed they had nothing to hide.
He said that we have developed this all by ourselves. We have used certainly all public information which was available. The project had lasted 5 years and basically used internet, etc. And that's what you see, and this is a genuine Iranian centrifuge.
I went into the pilot plant. I also went into the workshops. Now, in the workshops, they had a model of a centrifuge which they said was an indigenous design of centrifuge. However, when I walked into the room, I recognized it within 10 seconds as the Dutch design of centrifuge that I had known in the 1970s. It was based upon the technology acquired by A.Q. Khan from when he was in the Netherlands.
Suspecting the Iranians were not telling the truth about where they had obtained their centrifuge technology, the inspectors visited other sites. The Iranians claimed that this was just an old watch factory. Their investigation was to reveal far more.
There were boxes and cartons piled up against the windows and piled up against the doors. And very strangely, the janitor could not find the keys for these buildings.
And we realized that some parts of the building had been totally renovated. So all the ventilation system had been taken out, new nice tile floors and walls were in place.
The swipe samples later revealed traces of uranium. The site Kalai had been used for attempted enrichment. But far more worrying, chemical analysis showed the centrifuges could not have been built in Iran. Conclusion: the Iranians were lying.
Then they had to do a hard choice. Either stick to their previous explanations and just say, we don't know where it comes from, or you come with the explanation. And they decided to go for explanation. And then the story started to unravel, because then they said that actually it was not entirely genuine. We had got technology from abroad.
To the astonishment of the inspectors, the Iranians confessed. They had held a series of meetings with the Khan network starting 16 years before, in Dubai in 1987. Khan had 3 trusted lieutenants at the 1987 meeting. Tahir, his uncle Mohammed Farouk, and the German businessman Heinz Mabus.
Gentlemen, Dr. Khan sends his apologies that he cannot be here in person, but he sends his best wishes and assures you that we are more than capable of meeting with your request. Please. Now, what you see in front of you are the blueprints for the P1 centrifuge for uranium enrichment.
The designs are European
and have successfully been built by Dr. Khan in Pakistan, where they are fully operational. So, gentlemen, it's simply a matter of how much you're willing to pay.
The Iranians wrote a check for $3 million.
Please.
Tahir's uncle, Mohammed Farouk, took it straight across town to make sure it wouldn't bounce. The check cleared. Khan had helped Iran along the road to nuclear power.
Gentlemen, we are in business. Business with you. Good to do business with you.
The Iranians also revealed that later, Tahir sold more centrifuge designs and components. Price, several $1 million, paid in cash.
Clearly, the U.S. was looking in the wrong place. The Pakistani-Iranian link was off our radar screen. We were just not aware of what was taking place in that channel. And I think that was a considerable failure of intelligence.
It was now known that Khan had tried to sell to Iraq. There was no hiding the fact that Khan had sold to Iran, and details of even more lucrative deals were about to emerge. Libya. In a dramatic twist in 2003, Libyan leader Colonel Gaddafi announced he wanted to end years of international isolation. The bargaining tool, a promise to give up his ambitions for nuclear weapons. Months of secret talks followed, but the joint MI6-CIA operation had set its sights on stopping Khan once and for all.
This group divided up the targets. They divided up the businessmen in the Khan network and agreed which of them would target each of those businessmen to try and turn them, to try and get information from them, to try and eavesdrop on them.
And they soon got a breakthrough implicating Libya. A Malaysian engineering company, SCOMI, had been awarded a contract worth $13 million by Tahir. The factory was told that the specialist equipment was for the Middle Eastern oil industry, and SCOMI believed this to be the case. But the project was overseen by Swiss engineer Urs Tinner, the son of one of Khan's associates who had supplied Kahuta in the 1980s. The MI6 CIA team activated a double agent at the heart of the Khan network. He provided the evidence they needed. The Malaysian factory was building centrifuge parts for the Libyan atomic bomb. In 2003, the same source provided an invaluable tip-off. A container ship, the BBC China, was bound from Dubai to Libya. They seized the chance to move against Khan, diverting the ship to Italy. Here, a joint team of CIA and MI6 weapons experts waited to examine the cargo.
Hey, Scotty, you want to go to a break?
Inside, centrifuge parts bound for Libya, some from the Malaysian factory, and others from Khan's Kahuta plant. Libyan diplomats were urgently summoned to London. At an exclusive club, the British and Americans used the BBC China seizure as leverage to force the Libyans to give up on their nuclear weapons program.
We did have a private room to conduct business in this very impressive surrounding. It was a discussion that was quite difficult, and I think all of the participants in that discussion would agree with that characterization, and it went on for a good number of hours.
This evening, Colonel Gaddafi has confirmed that Libya has now declared its intention to dismantle its weapons of mass destruction completely.
A month later, a team of UN weapons inspectors arrived in Libya.
They told very frankly that they had contacts with Dr. A.Q. Khan in terms of getting the technology and the meetings mid-1990s, so we got a very good start.
The Libyans revealed they held a series of meetings with Khan as long ago as the 1990s. In Dubai, Istanbul, and Casablanca.
You're asking for a lot.
Are you saying it's not possible?
Of course it is possible. You've come to the right people.
There is no reason why what has been achieved in my country should also not be possible in yours. Inshallah. Inshallah. Inshallah.
But now we must discuss the costs. For a project of this scale, including production, delivery, and our expertise, the cost would be in the region of $100 million US.
It's a great deal of money.
But for what we're offering, surely a small price to pay.
Of course, we will pay. Good. Shukran.
This remains Khan's biggest known deal.
Good to do business with you.
Shukran. Shukran.
On the Libya trip, the inspectors were taken to a secret site on the outskirts of Tripoli. Here they saw for themselves what the Libyans had bought. From the Khan research laboratories in Kahuta, vacuum pumps and rotors for centrifuges. From Malaysia, precision parts manufactured by SCOMI. Perhaps most damning of all, a bag from Khan's tailor Inside, the Chinese nuclear warhead design.
This was one-stop shopping. This was everything from enrichment of uranium to the actual warhead design. The fact that you could go to one place and you could buy basically the capability to produce nuclear weapons was something that had to be stopped.
News of the Libyan investigation sent the Khan-Tahir network into panic.
Listen to me. Listen. Now, it is vitally important that you destroy everything relating to Libya. Yes, all the documents, all the emails, everything.
It was not enough. Tahir was soon arrested and interrogated by the Malaysian police.
We had several meetings with the Libyans. They asked us to supply centrifuge units for their nuclear program. Some came directly from Pakistan by air. Others had to be manufactured here in Malaysia, also Turkey, South Africa. We were active in Europe too. I arranged for all the components to be shipped through Dubai and also handled the finances.
Following his confession, Tahir was remanded in custody in Malaysia, where he remains. The Pakistani authorities could protect Khan no longer. Before the nation, the father of Pakistan's nuclear bomb was forced to confess he sold his country's atomic secrets for personal gain.
My dearest brothers and sisters, much of the evidence that I have been confronted with is true and accurate. I have chosen to appear before you to offer my deepest regrets and unqualified apologies to a traumatized nation.
Humiliated, Khan has been under house arrest for 3 years. The Pakistani government insists that Khan, without their knowledge, acted alone in selling nuclear technology to Libya, Iran and North Korea. But they deny that this aided North Korea's recent nuclear test.
The problem is, I don't think that the Pakistani authorities have turned over all the information they have. Iran is claiming that it bought just a certain amount of equipment from AQ Khan and nothing more. It would be good to hear from AQ Khan whether they're telling the truth.
Today, Natanz remains at the center of the diplomatic crisis over Iran's nuclear program. Close to completion, it'll house up to 50,000 centrifuges, enough to enrich uranium for a weapons program. Iran insists that this is for peaceful purposes only. But in Washington, few believe that President Ahmadinejad is telling the truth.
Iran aggressively pursues these weapons and exports terror, while an unelected few repress the Iranian people's hope for freedom.
It's very dangerous if Iran gets the bomb. And let me just add, if there had been no AQ Khan, we would not have a crisis now. Iran would not have been able to make progress on building gas centrifuges without the assistance of AQ Khan and his associates. The blame for this crisis really should rest squarely with Khan.
And it has since emerged that Khan's one-stop shopping network has been involved in more than supplying centrifuges.
In late 2005, IAEA inspectors are looking through some documents in Tehran. They find one set of documents which is particularly interesting. It's a set of documents on how to cast uranium metal into a sphere. Now, what's unusual about this is something you only really need to do if you're making a nuclear bomb. And these documents bear very close similarities to some of the documents that came out of Libya that had been found in the Good Looks Taylor bag. They actually look like they come from the same family, the same set of documents. This immediately points to the suspicion that A.Q. Khan had also provided Iran with some kind of nuclear weapons information, and therefore that the Iranian program was not just peaceful, as the Iranians claim, but might have been geared towards weapons.
And there are still so many unknowns. No one has access to Khan, or to the diaries he's kept for the past 30 years. Khan's trade in terror began when he betrayed his colleagues and stole the West's atomic secrets. Today, his own secrets are well kept.
There's just a lot of information that's vital to the security of the West, to the security of the world, that A.Q. Khan has locked away in his head that we don't have access to.
I think A.Q. Khan is vastly more dangerous than Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden, at the moment, is, capable of nothing more than conventional terrorism. A.Q. Khan has spread weapons of mass destruction to the most dangerous regimes in the world.
Nuclear weapons technology is now available on the black market, thanks to A.Q. Khan, the trader in terror.
The worst nightmare is that Khan's information will get into the hands of terrorists, or already has, and that it'll be key for them to be able to make a nuclear weapon that destroys one of our cities.
Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Tando Radio, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510. 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, then hit **. I'm not on the board, but I will be able to, I will hear you, so just say excuse me, and I would love to hear from you all. And one of the reasons why I thought it was critical that we play some of this about Dr. Khan was because of the significance of it all. I wanted to just give you some background as to what is going to be used and said. Now, the story that of Dr. Khan is, of course, has been brought to you by the mainstream interest. And I think that has a very, very important role in this whole thing because of how it was actually, this story was put together. And it's critical because I think it even tells on itself as they tell you the story about Khan, Dr. Khan. So I do think that this is all about the global agenda and the fraternity, because I don't think that there is no such thing as this government or that government. That it sounds good. I know that we've been taught it, and we thought that we actually seen that. But if we would ask and we would look at it from a different perspective, in which I always like to do, I think that that is more clear of the truth because of what you see, the evidence that is, the underlying evidence of that. And what am I saying? I'm saying that there is a system because we as the everyday people of the world, we haven't organized ourselves enough to be able to have a macro joining or infusion of all sides. And because of that, it's very easy to divide people once you teach them that division has always been a part of life and always is necessary in life. And because of that, this story of Dr. Khan, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. It was very long, but I wanted you to hear some of the things because that is what's going to be prevalent today. Here's what some of the significant things. There were many significant things, but you heard about the Afghan war. You heard about you heard about New York, 9/11. You heard about the Afghan war on both sides. You heard about the Iraq war. You heard about the overall engagement in Libya. You heard about Pakistan, and you heard about North Korea. Now, why is this so significant? One thing that I think that is critical is that the system in maintaining control, because that's always its objective, has to come up with something that people can see with their eyes and believe with their hearts. So if they can do that, then they will defend that to the death, because that's what they think is the measure of truth that they anchor themselves to. Now, what's significant about that is that I'm going to take Gaddafi for an example. I think Gaddafi presented the perfect setup for the future. One of the reasons that was true, because what they were trying to establish is, in my opinion, is for the plausible deniability for the war that they were going to invoke on mankind in the future. So in order to do that, you have to get people to see and believe something so that you can get there and they not really know as to how you got there or why you got there, and they'll just follow. They'll just follow to it. They've established the dividing lines. And one of the things that's very, very important is that North Korea represents a country that's bordered with other nuclear countries. So how do you get into a world war? Libya wouldn't get you into a world war. Nor would Iran really get you into a world war. But North Korea will definitely get you into a world war. And the reason why it would definitely get you into a world war is because of this. It has neighboring countries that are nuclear countries as well, being Russia and China. So by that being true, one second. By that being true, that is the proper way to get everyone into a war, and they buy the overall war paradigm. See, Libya wasn't bordered by any other nuclear countries. It was a very strategical country, but it was strategical for maintaining a world war. It wasn't really strategical for starting one, as well as Iran. Iran was strategical for maintaining the world war, but it wasn't significant for starting it. North Korea was perfect. So what do you do? So I've got a caller in queue. I'm going to go to that caller in 1 second. what do? You have the overall, in the whole story about Khan, I have my doubts about it as far as not that it happened, but it was allowed to happen. It served a different purpose. So I'm going to go to the caller in 1 second. Here's the thing that I want you to think about, and this is just my thought. How do you establish the overall paradigm for a global war? You have to have an adversary on both sides that could be capable enough of sustaining one. So if you engage in a war with North Korea uses its tactical nukes. You have to respond with tactical nukes, and immediately you have nukes flying off in a country that borders with nuclear countries themselves. What are they going to say? Nope, you can't do that here. You can't do that here because it's too close to home. We're really your target. And then they engage. Now you have a global war. So, but I don't want to keep the caller waiting. I don't know who it is, but that's what I think is the overall agenda here, to have that so that we will continue to be a part and be subjugated by the overall system. So it's, a masterful plan, and it's a theater. It's all theatrics. How do you get the people to believe? Key to magic is not to trick you, but to make you believe. Let's go to the caller. Caller, welcome to the Tando Radio Show. What's your name and where you're calling from, and what is your question or comment?
Greetings. This is Jerry calling from Chattanooga. How are you, Dave? How are you, Brother Scott?
Hey, what's up, Jerry? How you feeling, man?
I'm still learning, man. I wanted to see if I could add a little bit to this, and it's not necessarily on this subject, but it's around the same frame, if I may. Last night we had a great discussion, and it was on this same thing with intentions. Where are you leading yourself, and what to believe? And we had a great conversation. But my biggest thing is, with everything that's going on in the world, everybody's looking to the U.S. first and foremost. Everybody's looking to the U.S. Whatever we do over here, that's what they're going to emulate, regardless if it's good or bad. We've seen this play out time and time again. How do we get to that point to where we could straighten the minds of everybody, of course, but most importantly for me and my family, the black people around here, as far as getting them to being on the same accord, because that's what Gaddafi was doing. Right now, Brother Scotty he's been talking about Zimbabwe a lot. All of these people have the numbers, especially over there, but there's not one accord that everybody's following. And I know money rules the world, and that's how most people will end up getting in line. But without that, because like I said, it's not necessarily pertaining to what was going on in the video, but it does reference it. So without that money, how do you go about, if you don't have a mouthpiece like Malcolm or a mouthpiece like Martin, to do these type of things?
Yeah, Jerry, I really, really appreciate that's a great question for everyone to ask. I think that it all starts with you, the individual. And because Malcolm and Martin were one individual. They were an individual themselves. And one of the things that the system always teaches is that you always have a king. You always have a queen. You always have a hierarchy. You always have a leadership. And from throughout the world, the reason why these things never really grasp and take hold and we find ourselves in this, because I think being honest is one of the most important things. How much has really changed in the overall global perspective, in a global direction? I would say none whatsoever. And I think that's the reason why it's none whatsoever is because the same things are still happening because it's designed for that to happen. And I think the most important thing for the people to do is to take it from an individual standpoint and build out from there. One of the things that the system has taught us to be reliant upon the organization, to be reliant upon the system itself. And that was really, really smart of it to develop a dependency. It's kind of like an addiction. And in this addiction, the pain of the withdrawals are so great. And not only that, the addiction is so deep that the addict doesn't even realize that they're addicted to something. It's kind of like sugar, white sugar. And so, but it's still one of the most poisonous things and is the most addictive things, more addictive than heroin and cocaine. And because of that, as individuals, we haven't made a decision ourselves collectively, individually, on numbers that are strong enough to really look at the system for what it has produced and reject it completely. And say, no, there's no longer, that's not an interest of mine. And so, and by doing that, there is no war that needs to be fought. There is no engagement that you need to have with the system. By you walking away, you're taking off of its life support. I think we seem to continue to provide the life-sustaining energy that the system needs in order to thrive and to thrive. And so I think it's really individual, and a lot of people, you all, have all made that individual decision. But one of the things that we should never, ever forget is that there's a process to everything. And there's a commitment that's needed to everything. It's not going to be, like a movie where within a 2-hour period you're going to go through everything that's in the movie and come out with what you went into it. No. It's a long process. But the first and most important step in that process is the individual saying, I no longer want to give energy to this. I need to, and look at it for what it really is. I need to purge myself and detox myself from this overall system because it's the only system that I've ever known. We have to have a respect for it. So that's just my opinion. And in that process, it's not really something that can be done overnight.
Sorry about interrupting you. And
No, you're good.
I understand what you're saying, and I would very much like to hear if Brother Scott is not busy handling some of the back end. I would love to get his point of view from this, and any of the callers that's on the line waiting. But when we think about some of these people, Martin's father was a preacher, so he was, like you said, it's a process. He was bred into this. Malcolm spent a lot of time. He spent a good few years in prison, getting indoctrinated into this. But the person who taught him, the person who was before him, before he showed up to the podium, didn't have that same that spark or that energetic feeling that he gave off. So when he actually showed up, it was actually electrifying, and it did happen overnight. Same thing with Martin. His father had been doing this for years, working with the community and what have you. But when his son started doing it, it happened overnight. We talk about Garvey. Garvey had been doing it for years, although, it's questionable his motives when he was over in Jamaica, but when he came over here, it sparked overnight. It always happened like that. And it's always with a younger person. And what I have been finding is that we tend to, and I know this from experience, to where me asking questions that older people wouldn't ask, get shunned. You don't supposed to be talking about that. That type of thing. And I repeat it with my children, although I give them a little more leeway, but that's beside the point. And right now today, when we're talking about people like one of these CIA agents, when you're talking about, man, I can't think of what his name. He done got super skinny, got the big old head, the Chris Curl. I can't even think of what his name is.
Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton. Yeah. The Rainbow Coalition and all of that. They do some good things. It's a lot of curious things that they be doing, but they do some good things, and it's a lot of good young brothers and sisters that's in that organization, but they refuse to relinquish the power that they hold because they want to continue to be in power. So with this cause of change that you have introduced us to, this will give us the monetary value. It just depends on how many of us are actually trying to do something for the community. Like I got plans already of stuff that I'm going to do.
Right.
But
right.
But when we're talking about it, the process has already been taken. I'm a lot younger than most of the people that listen here, so I might be a little bit biased about but I know that all of the experiences that y'all done had, that y'all done shared, a lot of the callers that they done had and they done shared, and just my own experiences. And like I could go through 2 hours just talking about my experiences myself on for 2 weeks straight. But the process has already happened. It's the opportunity that presents itself. So with this opportunity being presented, and I'm gonna leave it at this so you can go on and finish your show. With the opportunity that you have presented us and everybody who has grabbed a hold to that opportunity, with all of the turmoil that's going on, because we're still the target, but the emphasis is not on us like it has been years past. Is this the time for this to happen? And I'm going to end with that question. Thank you. And like I said, I would like to hear Brother Scotty response to that if he's not on the back end taking care of some business.
Yeah,
and of course,
I'm here, Jerry, but I'm not sure what you want me to comment on. The video we just heard?
No. Well, the video had something to do with it, but like I stated earlier, we had a good conversation about basically black self-respect and this divide and conquer that has been put on us as a people. What can we do as far as gathering these people up together? And I know that jobs and money is two of the biggest things that needs to happen. And this just to make it short, Scotty. Jobs and money are two of the biggest things to make that happen. And with this opportunity that Dave has brought us and this money coming in, with all of this turmoil going on between these white people fighting and killing each other, is this the time that has opened up for us to take that charge, to go ahead on and shoot through that door, to change everything that has been going on years past? That's the question. Thank you for taking me. Appreciate the time.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Well, to be honest with you, I really don't have an answer for you. I don't know, Jerry, in terms of what will it take for people who look like each other, who share the same culture and history, primarily black people in this country. What will it take for us to come together and all this? I've never been one to believe in 100% unity, and I don't think that that's possible, because people come into consciousness at different times. People have different world views, and which is shaped by their experiences and their exposure. Talking to people that I consider revolutionaries who were former members of the Black Panther Party and just studying revolution. It doesn't take everybody to bring about widespread change. It just takes a dedicated few who have the wherewithal, who have the experience, who have the vision, and of course you got to have resources to execute any kind of vision. And so I just feel like that people who can work together should work together, and any minor differences they have, they should set aside. But I just have never believed in 100% unity, because we got people who believe certain spiritual things that I don't get down with, and not to say that they're wrong or what I believe is right. It's just that we are at the end of the day, we're all individuals. So we have to, just like Dave says, we have to get with people that resonate with us, and everybody's not. Let me put Black Talk Radio Network as an example. Look, we're going into our 10th year of broadcasting. When we were on Blog Talk Radio, people were saying, black people, we always hear this, black people need their own this, black people need their own that. But then when a person builds something for those people, do everybody come aboard? No. Some of those same people that will be talking about, we need to work together and do this and that, they stay right where they are, which tells me you wasn't doing nothing but talking to begin with. You just a talker, you wasn't a doer. And then, some of us, we got to be the center of attention. We don't know how to, let's say, be in a support role. All right.
Hey, can I let me jump in here real quick, Scotty, and I'm sorry. Just to let you know, for any of y'all that's interested, Black Talk Radio has awesome rates because I'm broke, and just want to let y'all know that. Continue on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'll just use that as an example. Now, when we launched Black Talk Radio in 2008, let me do the math here. Well, let me say just 5 years ago, we launched New Abolitionist Radio. Wasn't nobody talking about no 13th Amendment never abolished slavery, and that what y'all calling mass incarceration is really prison slavery. And here we are 5 years later, a major documentary has been made about it, and more people are talking about it and coming to that. So we didn't need everybody. We didn't even, everything costs money, but we didn't need $100 million to get that message out there and to build and to start that movement. So I just say, Jerry, just get with the people that you resonate with, because we are individuals, and everybody may not have, let's say, a good pure heart in doing why they, some people join stuff for different reasons and what have you. So just get with people who share your vision, and them, you resonate with them, their heart and where they're coming from, and y'all just do what y'all can do together, and you can be surprised on how much change that you can make with just a few, and then maybe the many will come along later. But the purpose is that more people be able to benefit from it. So I hope I answered your question.
No, I think you definitely did, but I don't know. That's up to Jerry to say. And one of the things that I want to add to that is that, and why we played this is because I wanted to show how this war paradigm is going to continue to divide. Subjugation and enslavement is a very real thing, and for us to first, you have to want to free yourself from this or liberate yourself from this. You choose to do this. And I'm going to use Malcolm and Martin as an example for here. The thing that was great about Malcolm and Martin was they did some great things. The bad thing about Malcolm and Martin is that they did some great things. And so that once when Malcolm was assassinated and when Martin was assassinated. Let's use Malcolm as an example. When Martin was assassinated, here it was that Malcolm had done very many things and wanted to get a direction for people to go. But see, a lot of people were looking at a celebrity status of Malcolm, and they really weren't committed to what possibly Malcolm was committed to. And how do you know? Because when Malcolm was assassinated, Daddy almost went homeless.
And the OAU fell apart, the Organization for African American Unity. Because I had a conversation, Dave, with somebody about that. I was like, so didn't what's his name? Dr. John Henry Clark helped him co-found that. And I was like, well, why it didn't continue after John Henry Clark? I mean, after Malcolm was murdered, you still had John Henry Clark. We still had Malcolm's teachings and whatnot. But this is the other person's answer. This isn't my answer, but it kind of made sense to me, is that John Henry Clark wasn't Malcolm and didn't have the same organizational skills as Malcolm. The man was a great scholar and what have you, but sometimes, and Dave, I had actually mentioned this the other day, that cult of personalities can be good and they can be bad.
They can be bad.
Because cult of personality, a person, their magnetism, their vibrations, they can motivate people to get involved that would never get involved in anything outside of themselves. But then at the same time, on the flip side of that, a cult of personality can motivate people to do things that ain't really in their best interest at the end of the day. And I know you got some other callers, but one last comment. What I was picking up from that video was, and I'm glad you said, Dave, that we had to consider who produced that documentary. Because I was hearing a whole lot of Western supremacy, or white supremacy in making certain figures out to be the bad guys and making the CIA and all of them to be the good guys. So we had to be very, very scrutinizing whenever we live. You can pick up information from anywhere, but you also had to be aware of the disinformation. But you got several callers on the board, and
let's
we
go
got
to
about 10 minutes.
Because I'm gonna try to get to them before we get out of here, because we're gonna have to get out of here, and we'll pick this up part 2. Very, very important. Let's go to another caller, Scotty.
Let's go to 609.
Welcome, caller, to Tando Radio Show. Let's see who's
609.
on the board.
609 was on the board first.
609. Go ahead. Welcome to Tando Radio Show.
Greetings. This is Raz. How y'all doing?
Raz, what's going on? Shoot, Raz. We got 2 minutes.
All right. No problem. I wanted to say, Scotty is right. Dr. Clark wasn't a leader type. He was actually a scholar and a Jenner. So that really wasn't his focus, and he probably couldn't have taken control of the OAU for those very reasons that you spoke about. One thing I did want to say is when you're speaking about what Jerry was talking about, we talked about that last night, and I said really, at this particular stage, the number of people, melanated people that are of one accord in regards to what the problem is numerically insignificant. If it wasn't, then the situation would be different. And it speaks to what Scotty said. Everybody doesn't have to be on one accord. We come from a culture where people were allowed to have their own views, religious views, all of those things, and those things were not impinged upon. And one of the other reasons that OAU couldn't pick up where Malcolm left off is because everybody had their own egos and their own ideology. Once you have a problem and everyone is of one accord about that problem, we don't have to agree about anything else. But the major problem that's causing all of us grief, if we can all come to one accord about that one issue, then you can get a critical mass to do something about it. And it has to do with, we talked about this last night too, is the development of a code. When you study white supremacy, they have a code. And I mean, the code they practice is on a level that no other group on the planet practices it. And that's how they maintain domination. So if we maintain a code that is very stringent, that is a black self-respect oriented code, where we are all of one accord in regards to what we need to do, what our problem is, and what we need to do about that problem collectively, then we can see some things really shift in a different direction. That's what I think the issue is, and that's the importance of shows like this and then one we do and other folks, Scotty's show, is that we are presenting the issue and hoping to get enough people on one accord about that issue, not about everything, but about that one issue. What's the problem, and what are we going to do about it as a collective group? And that you don't need a leader for. The bottleneck of leadership is how they get rid of us all the time. They destroy everything because that one leader becomes a bottleneck. And if they're the glue holding everything together, once they're dead, as we saw with Malcolm, Minister Malcolm, everything falls apart. But if everybody individually has that one focus, they can kill 10 of them. There's going to be 200,000 more to take their place because those 200,000 understand what the problem is, and they're working collectively towards fixing it in their own way. Thank you. I'll mute my line.
Yes, and we're definitely going to talk about this some more. Let's go to another caller because I want to get one more before we get out of here. Well said,
we got two more. We got two more callers. Just try to be short and succinct with your comments. Okay. The next one is 347. We do got BIB radio coming up, or I would not be rushing people and would give you extra time. But 347, you're on the board now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Peace to all the callers. This is Thomas, New York. I just want to say, man, don't forget they made a concerted effort to kill all those people too. You know, the Blackamoor Messiah is the series that the brother Red Pope put out. He documents that pretty well on YouTube. And yeah, I mean, each one of those persons was slated to be killed. And I just wanted to report that they put out a video today with some of the modifications and upgrades they made to the Atlas robot. So you can check that out. The Boston Dynamics Atlas robot. They got it doing backflips and stuff now. And this is the military robot. I mute my line.
Well said, Thomas. We're going to go to another caller. Go ahead. Last caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I can't see the area code, but it's showing Atlanta area. So go ahead with your question or comment.
Greetings, brothers. Greetings, Brother Rio, man. Y'all bringing that fire, man. I love y'all brothers, man, because we are so much on the same accord. What I hear is we all have to study history because everything that we're talking about has already taken place. All we need to do is look at the Haitian Revolution, because the Haitian Revolution didn't happen overnight. Those people overcame their oppressors because they recognized different personalities, and they put those personalities into specific positions to lead the people. Everybody's not going to follow, but like you said, everybody has different metal, they have different characters, and you have to be able to put the right person in the right position to fulfill what he's supposed to do. So you had someone who prepared the people, and then you had someone who was more of a direct leader of the people. And you can't forget the women, because the women were the background of it all. So, you know, we have to change the way that we are preparing. We got to change our mindset, or else we ain't going to be able to get together. But, you know, they have adopted the ability to plan for centuries. We go over different kind of plans, from the designs, the protocols, to silent weapons, to, you know, whatever they got coming down the pipe. So we just have to get on, you know, our planning strategies and figure out who's going to play what part, and then we can all get it together. But that's all I got to say, brothers.
All right. Hey, Dave, one more thing.
Well said, Rio. Well said.
One more thing, because you served in the military, Jerry served in the military, and one thing I learned in the military is that you always training to take over when the leader gets killed. When the platoon sergeant get killed, there's somebody next in line who's had the training to take over that. That's why I have always stressed other people learning how to do the type of broadcasting that we do, because if something happened to me, car accident, struck by lightning, or I want this work to be able to continue. And the only way it can continue is if I train other people to take my place. And that's where I think that a lot of movements has failed, that, you know, one person just wanted to be at the center of everything and they wasn't training up other people to take their place.
So true. Hey, we got to get ready to get out of here. So just want to say thank you all for being a part of today's show. It's never goodbye. As always, I'll see you later. Brother Braggs, if you're on the line, if you would chime us out, we'll have part 2. Much love, much respect. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace, peace.
Go ahead, Brother Braggs.
Gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And